All right, we're live, and I think looks like we're live on YouTube. Let me double check that we're live
Yep, we
on.
are live on Twitch too.
All right, so it worked.
Awesome.
Yay! We did it!
Yay, we did a thing.
We did a thing. Love it. Let's spam it out on the socials.
Oh yeah, come hang.
What are we up to tonight?
That's your department.
Names. I need your names, people.
Oh, I am Kris.
I'm Edison, and I'm actually wearing a shirt with my name on it.
Ooh.
Hey, look at
I'm
that!
still in my work clothes.
And I'm Kyle. And we are Tanks and Danks. Tanks and Tanks.
Thanks.
Tanks and Thanks, and this is the official podcast of the YouTube channel, The Science of Tanks, where we talk about bridging the gap between scientists and hobbyists, and yeah, we just have fun here.
All that good stuff. And we're going to talk about some stuff, including why liquid carbon is a scam. It's a scam. Edison's going to learn about saltwater for once. And Kris basically loves crown loaches. That's going to be our episode today. Something like that.
Clown loaches are great
A bit of that, yeah.
because they're freshwater.
All right. We need an intro.
Okay, here comes the intro. Alrighty, we're back.
Yay. So we're going to start out with what we've been up to this week. Edison, what have you been up to this week?
I got about 3 or 4 weeks of schoolwork done in 1 week. Did half a break. It was good. It was good. Did half a break job and just kind of survived.
Got through
Half
the
a
week.
break one.
Half a break job, yeah, because I did the other half last week.
Oh, okay. I was about to say, which half? Did you determine, like, you know?
No, I only swapped like half
Just
of
the
the
right
brake
side.
pads.
Yeah, just the right side. The brakes work really good, but only on that one side.
The brake and the car turns right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, there was a screw holding on the rotors that wouldn't come off, and I couldn't get it off. Finally got a screwdriver that would get it off of there, and then it started bending up. My screwdriver wasn't stripping the screwdriver, but it bent the little flanges to like actually pull out the Phillips. So I just drilled out the screws because I'm like, screw this.
Oh, no.
I mean, at a certain point, you should just buy a blowtorch.
Always.
I was
Not a
about to say,
flamethrower.
like, I owned one even when I was working for Geek Squad and I worked on vehicle interiors. I had a blowtorch.
Everybody needs a blowtorch.
Everybody does. Kyle, what have you been up to this week?
Work. Like him. I don't know. Dads, providers. We just work. I did get last week. I got the shrimp tank cleaned up, and that's been nice. I've been trying to like get that back on track because it just kind of went wild. But it's like trying to meticulously comb out Glostigma runners out of mini hair grass. So I'm like taking tweezers and like what, like trying to pull
just
out pieces.
Trying so hard.
Yeah. Like it's combing, so it's not as bad. I used to try to like tweezer them out, but yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm looking forward to ordering. I'm feeling like I'm getting to the point where I want to order stuff to do the mini canister and do a kind of a rough concept of it. Make sure I can get it working first. So I think that'll be next week.
Hopefully speaking of homemade filters, I have a design for the filter I'm going to make with the the little K1 fluidized filter that's a hang-on back. So I'll send you guys a prototype in a couple weeks when I can actually have enough money to get materials, but it'll be cool.
Nice. I love it. I love the DIY stuff. I'm still interested in doing root tabs with you guys.
Oh yeah, that would be fun.
I am. It's the only thing I'm thinking that it would cause a problem is the binding agent. Once you figure that out,
again, just use magnesium carbonate. It's easy.
That's it. Then you just press it together.
Yeah, just done. Just do it.
All right. That's it. Magnesium carbonate.
Flour.
Magnesium
No, I
carbonate
don't
is
know.
like the most porous material basically in the entire universe.
I thought
found
it was aerogel.
Oh, well, I guess yes, because aerogel exists, but it also can't
Yeah. What
just
about
like
aerogel?
you can't just like
Bro.
buy aerogel though. Like you can't just go out and be like, yeah, can I go to the grocery store and get some aerogel?
No,
You can't even
no.
go on Amazon to get aerogel.
Like I want to build the filters out of like clear PVC because it's a fluidized filter. You want to see it moving. Because I could do it with regular PVC. It would be a whole lot cheaper, but then you couldn't see the fluidized part of the fluidized filter. So it's like clear PVC is like 5-6 times the price, and it's like, but you have quality.
There's clear PVC?
Yes.
What the heck?
So I'm gonna get like 4-inch clear PVC. It's like Schedule 40. It's like the good stuff.
The good stuff.
The good stuff.
Imagine the witness of modern day manufacturing where you can get things that didn't exist years ago.
Like aerogel for root tabs.
Like aerogel. Oh,
Do you know how brittle aerogel is? You could just snap it in half with your hands.
Well,
yeah.
so you can do
Edison.
that with a carrot too, but like,
I don't recommend making filters out of carrots.
well, it's organic material. I wouldn't make
Too
a
much
filter
potassium.
What if we just bored out a carrot and crammed it full of a bunch of fertilizer?
There we go.
It's organic. It could be organic. It could be organic, baby. Okay, moving on.
Don't do that.
What
Yeah,
about you, Kris? What have you been doing? Human flesh baggy.
Yes. So I guess we're going to start off with kind of, I don't want to give it away yet. So, okay, instead of 2 things, there's only 1 thing, at least for right now. Next week, we'll probably have one big thing about my previous place where I worked. So, but that's coming up. For at least this week, I finally got in contact back with the Idaho Falls Aquarium, and they said something to the extent of, you were perfect and beautiful in every single way, but we gave it to someone who already works here. But their job is open, and you need to apply for it, so that way we can give it to you. So,
Cool.
I mean, it's not nearly as ideal, but to be honest, it's a lot less work because it's just a zoo educator instead of a head of education. So, but
So
Cool.
you
I mean,
just talk about fish all day.
they don't have fish.
I thought it was an aquarium.
Opportunity.
No, it's a
to educate
zoo.
people.
Oh yeah, and we are planning though. Like he said, in about 10 years, we already have a building to make into an aquarium. And he's
Cool.
like, if you're here, it's something that you're going to need to help us with. And I'm like, easy.
I love aquariums.
I do too.
But
and you need to,
yeah.
and to lateral movement with inside. So just get half of it's just getting in the company. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And then they see what you're doing and what you're not doing, and people move, they leave. Then you can jump in and grab their stuff. So part of it's just getting in, man. But I'm excited for you. It sounds like at least a place to start, and then you kind of get in with the freshwater side of things and be like, oh well, I'll head that part, and then you're in. Then you're in like.
Well,
man.
I mean, like I said previously, one of the previous employees of my old, that used to work at the aquarium moved to the zoo because the zoo's AZA certified. And so, like, when it comes down to it, he's like, you want to do the exact same thing as that person, and I commend you for that. So, it is what it is. So,
love it. All right. I say we get down to business.
let's get down to business.
What's going on in the world of aquarium and science? We're going to start with the oldest fish in captivity is 92 years old. What the heck? What type
It's
of
an
fish?
Australian lungfish.
Australian
cool.
lungfish?
Yeah.
Does it have lungs?
Edison, leave.
Okay.
I'm looking at this because I don't even know what type of fish that is. Oh, dang. Oh, yeah, I've seen one of those.
Yeah, aren't they like long fish?
Yeah, and they got like squished face,
Yeah.
little dotty eyes. 92 years old. That's crazy, man. It's gonna outlive somebody. That's for sure.
Outlive
I mean,
lots of people.
Outlive somebody.
let's see. If 92, what year is it? It's
24.
2024.
Yeah, when was it born? It was after the Great War.
So 1932 is when that fish was born.
Oh my gosh.
Jeez,
That's
that thing's
crazy.
Can't like.
that thing's lived through like 2 world wars.
Right. What do you mean two? It has lived through 2 world wars, sir.
Like 2.5.
Like 2.5, basically. I mean, if you want to count, you know, the near experience that we're having right now in the United States, we could
there was
say
Also the Cold
there's
War. So
probably
we
a
had like
fourth
2
one.
half wars. So we've had like 3. Let's go with that.
Spaghetti Nona's giving me sass because of the squish face on YouTube. Yes. Or Spaghetti Nona. I don't know how to pronounce your name. I'm sorry. I'm butchering it. But yes,
Squish
squish
face.
face is a technical term, right? Isn't it?
Right. Kind of like the Corys have the mustache.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Technical.
Well, that's
A
technical term.
yeah.
They must be new here with my technical terms. I love it. Thanks for hanging out with us, by the way. So what more about the 92? Where are they? In San Francisco?
Yeah, not at Mandalay Bay, which I thought was interesting, to be fully honest. And I know that that's probably not the most interesting thing about that article, but I would have assumed that if it was in captivity, it would be at one of like the highest facilities possible. But
It says inside the Steinhardt Aquarium in San Francisco's California Academy of Science.
yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that place. Yeah.
So I do think it's kind of remarkable that it's alive too, because if it's in the Academy of Science, I guarantee you at some point there's a student that made a stupid decision at some point, right? Like when I did aquariums for my university, there was many times that I like nuked an entire tank. And you know, they were like,
Yeah, we won't
okay,
either.
you know, don't do that again. But like to get out of all of those issues is pretty remarkable.
Dude, my bristlenose plecos have lived through like 2 recycles of my tank, a couple nukes, and they just don't care. They actually bred once.
Yeah. I've had a couple of those fish that everything goes you go through Armageddon a couple of times, right? And they're like the only ones that have gone through it all. Like
They just don't care.
it's like that. Was it the angelfish in Finding Nemo? The one.
Oh, yeah, Scar.
Oh,
Yeah, he's like been through a couple of rounds of other fish, and he's like, I don't even name them anymore. You know, like, in the tank. Yeah, one of those. That's crazy, man. That is pretty nuts. 92.
I know for a freaking fact I'm not going to live through 2 world wars. I know I'm not going to live to 92.
I'll say, if I'm-
the
I
life
don't live through
expectancy
2
out of a
world
man
wars.
in the United States right now is declining drastically.
Why is
So, well, it's just declining drastically because of either obesity, diabetic, high blood pressure, preconditioning, like
Scaring me.
Well, and if I'm not mistaken,
You're not
because
70, so be okay.
this is my forte. Psychology speaking, there's suicides are on the rise, and opioids
That's fun.
continue to be like the leading cause of death in the U.S., which, you know,
Fentanyl specifically.
yeah,
That's fine too.
Fentanyl.
early deaths would be driving the average death age down.
All right, back to fish.
Back to fish.
Blessing everyone. They didn't come here to hear us talk about life expectancy of males in the U.S. Anything else about the fishy, the old guy? That's pretty interesting.
I'd say happy birthday, but I think because they did it with genetic testing, they actually couldn't figure out the birthday of
Oh,
this fish. So they just kind of found out, hey, this thing's 92 years old, but we don't know when to celebrate that or
Yeah.
why. But
I'll pick a date. Pick a date.
Just January 1st. It's
Pick a
easy
date,
enough.
any date. So next cool little topic. Bottlenose dolphins hunt through electromagnetism? Really? I thought it was echolocation.
Yeah, so everybody says echolocation, right? And there's even people who have said that it's like through magnetic fields, right? How fish normally do their migration is through magnetic fields, right?
Yeah.
But they've gotten evidence. This doesn't mean that it's 1,000% proved, and I have to use this in a very like evidential type of tone because there's people in the scientific community that would be like, you're saying that this is the truth. And I was like, no, but all science is not true. So, to a certain extent.
Just a theory, bro.
It's a theory.
Just
But there is evidence that say that they can use electromagnetism up to 0.5 microns, millivolts, right?
Millivolts per centimeter, it says.
Yeah. To basically be able to sense with.
That's crazy, man.
It's like the water version of echolocation.
Is that echolocation is the water version of echolocation, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got nothing. No, so it's an electronic version of echolocation, which is audio, but it's like a what is it? Is there an equivalent? Like
it's like a theremin, but for food.
For puffer fish.
I don't think in terrestrial ways there isn't really a like analog for voltage sensing, right?
Well, I don't think that there would be any use for it just because of how high resistance the air has.
Yeah, air is such high impedance that it doesn't really have a lot of back pressure unless you lived in like England.
Unless you lived like right in the
rainy.
So like echolocation is audio, right?
Yeah.
Waves. Like LiDAR is like infrared.
Infrared. Yeah.
So then how does this I'm curious how this works.
Okay, so this works through special appendages that are on the lateral line of most of those dolphins.
Yeah.
Mostly actually they're sensing scales, right? And so on every fish, their lateral line actually has the most sensitive like receptors for things, right? And so that allows them to either feel things like the temperature of the water, the velocity of the water, the location of where the velocity is coming from, and readjust that stuff accordingly. Another part of what the dolphins use is in their nostrils. Every fish has a magnetosensing kind of like a chemoreceptive magnetosensing like nostril. Humans do too, technically. We just have decided to turn it off as humans, which, I mean, to be able to always know where north is by sticking out your nose is not really helpful. So,
well, there's also, if I'm not mistaken, taste buds in your throat and anus that aren't used.
Yeah, that's true.
The more you know. Dun-dun-dun-dun.
Anyway,
so they shoot out electricity.
So yeah, so they have a field, an electromagnetic field, or an electromagnetism field along that lateral line, all the way up until their nostril.
There you go.
And that senses proximity of voltage.
Yeah.
So it's more of like a passive. It's like a passive magnet that as you put a battery up closer to it, they can sense that kind of.
They can feel that.
Kind of like a guitar pickup.
Yeah, exactly. Just like a guitar pickup, basically.
That's crazy, man. That's super crazy. Dolphins blow me away. I don't know. We're as a species feel like we're the smartest, and I feel like we're the dumbest one in the room, like to some degree. You know what I mean? Like,
I agree.
I don't know, man. Like priorities and all this stuff.
We also have such a wide array of intelligence in the species.
You said we or they?
We
to some degree.
I've worked in retail, and my motto after working in retail is to never
work in retail again.
Never underestimate the depths of human stupidity.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I used to work for Best Buy. Trust me.
Yeah.
I understand that.
Just because everybody has a brain doesn't mean that everybody uses it.
age doesn't
I
equate to
barely use
maturity.
mine. Mine's
Oh,
like at
fair.
2% all the time.
It sounds like
Imagine if you could use 100% of your brain all the time.
Sounds like a you problem.
Sounds like a me problem. So, kind of based the next steps, by the way, for this study, they want to do migration and other types of data sets basically for these dolphins. But I kind of wanted to basically touch on for smaller fish that use migratory senses and some types of sea turtles, they've actually invented backpacks for them to use that are harnessed into like a swimming pool, like a kiddie pool. And then they'll move an electromagnet on the outside of the pool around like in a circle to see if they follow it or not. And it's like one of the weirdest experiments I've ever seen in my life, but it's hysterical because when you put the turtles in the pool with a backpack, they look like Michelangelo and Donatello.
Yeah, I was gonna
like
say
Ninja Turtles. And I was like, yes.
I need a turtle with a backpack on in my life. What'd you do today at work, babe? Oh, we got this turtle. We put a backpack on him. Threw him in a kiddie
Pretty
pool.
much.
Like,
Oh man, at the aquarium, at the aquarium in Draper, the Living Planet Aquarium, I think they call it.
Yeah.
Living Planet, AZA rated, great aquarium. But they actually have a turtle that has like a swim bladder issue or something like that. And it likes to sleep upside down.
Oh,
everybody freaks out when they see the turtle just like into a corner upside down, and like they're like, no, he's fine.
Dead.
So even at my old aquarium, hi Remo, I miss you. You should come back.
Remo just got here.
I know.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, at my old aquarium, the one in Idaho Falls, they had a nurse shark, right? And they are nocturnal sharks. And so on a daily occurrence, I'd have people like come up to me, is your nurse shark dead? No, she's sleeping.
Just leave her alone.
She hasn't moved in like an hour. Okay. Do you move when you sleep all the time?
How would you sleep? Yeah, about that. Oh, yeah, because most most sharks have to continue to swim. But
yeah, so blacktip reef sharks it was really contrasting, right? So blacktip reefs, they bank half their body on and off for their nocturnal cycle.
That's true.
And so they would always be circling.
Yeah, see, I wondered how that worked. I'm like, you either just go into this power saving mode where you're in like, a trance state or not hypnotic, but like a meditative state. But that makes sense if you're turning off half of your body to some degree.
Yeah.
Kind of cruising. That's trippy. Trippy stuff for this week. We need more cool stuff like this.
Imagine just like sleeping by having a stroke.
You wake up, feel better now. I'm not dead yet.
This is like probably the worst joke I've made of the century, but Dick Clark probably already knows what that feels like. Edison probably doesn't know who Dick Clark is, but
I could probably put it together.
I saw his picture once in a museum.
Yeah, basically.
Oh.
He died before Edison was a twinkle in someone's eye.
From something last week, I think that Ray is going to have babies soon, no?
Yeah, I think so too. I didn't look up to see.
So now we're going to know if it's shark DNA or not. If the Ray's been cheating.
I promise you, if it is shark DNA, those Rays are going to be dead when they come out.
They're stillborns.
Hey.
No. Ultimate reversal. It was one of the fish keepers.
Maybe.
Just
better to be optimistic and wrong than pessimistic and right.
I'd rather it not be that option though, because that would mean that a fish keeper is doing the dirty with.
Yeah, not that one. No, we don't know.
Little aquatic homunculus.
No, Edison, put your hands down.
Okay. Next subject. Is there anything else?
Any other news that you guys heard of? I know I kind of just put two up there. I just didn't know.
Those are good ones though, man.
Yeah,
those are good ones. Yeah, I like them. I liked those. This week's. The other week's, it's kind of.
Yeah, it's whatever.
Yeah, sometimes news is slow in the aquarium world.
Yeah. Can't think of anything else myself.
Well,
that I
next
saw.
week we'll have to get a video of the dolphin with a backpack in the kiddie pool.
It was
Do
a
you
turtle.
realize how long it's going to be before they evolve to that? Like, I guarantee you, if someone was going to finance that research project, it's not going to happen for another like 25 years. Like,
Turtles in a half shell.
because you can put turtles in a half shell in a backpack in a pool, but you can't put a dolphin in there, and you need a really big magnet.
You're like, all right, investors. Here's what we want to do.
Just
Ninja Turtles with dolphins.
We're
So
asking
what we need is
2.7 million.
an MRI machine. Strap it to a dolphin.
We need 10 JanSports, a very large pool. Yeah.
And lots of duct tape.
I'd want to be in that meeting. That'd be fun. That'd be amazing. Okay,
Yeah, it's true.
moving on. We need questions. We need lots of questions from you guys. So, Remo, if you got a question, hit us with it. And Sketty too. Sketty. You guys got a question? Pop one in. We love it. If you're not live with us, where can viewers post questions for us to talk about on the channel? Kris or Edison? What's the best place to do that?
oftanksandscience@gmail.com, or I believe I have my Twitter up and running finally. So of
You know what we'll do?
science. What?
We'll throw it in the description after this live.
yeah, that's true.
So check the description. There should be a couple options for you to post questions. Any questions, all questions, fish tank related, aquascape related. I'm the plant person. So if you got plant questions, I can answer those. And we have two knowledgeable fish experts, obviously, that can answer questions for you
say
guys.
I'm a fish expert.
I wouldn't say I'm an expert.
I
either.
said you're a
just
fish
have-
expert.
Oh no.
Thanks. That's sweet. It's cute that you think that, but thanks.
I'm glad I've got you under that illusion.
Someone's got to be that. And you don't want to be Edison's title. So moving on.
What's my title? What?
If you got questions, post them. We'd love to talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. And the engagement is fun as well. Okay. So first question of the night. It's 3 parts. Why is liquid carbon a sham? What does it do? Why does it still exist?
Well, so
Who
that's
wants to start?
that's
Let's
a leading
start-
question.
I think we should end with Kyle because he's going to take the longest.
I
He's-
probably
he's
will.
Gonna go on a rant.
Let's start. let's start somewhere to educate. So we'll start with what is liquid carbon or liquid carbon based products. For those that don't know.
Hey, you're gonna be the educator. You should do it, Kris.
Yeah, you're the fish expert.
Okay, so liquid carbon. I'm going to pull up an example here real quick. I think CChem makes one, right? That
I think it's
I'm
the
thinking
Flourish
of.
Excel. Yeah.
Excel.
Yeah,
you know.
Excel, like the daily dose one, not the weekly one, right? So,
I don't know what you're talking about, but Flourish Excel is their liquid carbon product.
Yeah.
okay. So you can correct me if I'm wrong, Kyle, but from what I understand, it really contains just anything that I think it just contains carbonic acid, right? HCO? No?
Mm-mm. Used to be glutaraldehyde. They've since changed their formula. And I'm looking
yeah,
up
You're right.
their SDS because I don't want to misquote them. I'm still going to talk my smack, but I at least want to be talking smack that is proper. But it used to be
Scientific.
glutaraldehyde. Yeah, science. I want to get my facts right at least. It used to be glutaraldehyde. It's now polyglucoglutaralcetal.
So basically sugars. That's what they are.
So
It's
what is
long
it?
polymer sugars.
it's not like dissolved carbon dioxide in a little bottle. It's like carbon
Wait, it's an
substances.
isometric form of glutaraldehyde. So it's not
Oh, so it's
glutaraldehyde
non-polymerized.
anymore.
Yeah.
What glutaraldehyde is a medical disinfectant, and its byproduct when put into water, I believe, is carbon dioxide. So essentially, dump it in the tank. It's a sterilizer to some degree, which helps mainly with hair algae. Not really much other than hair algae. I've heard of others dipping for GSA, green spot algae, and that working. Never done it myself, so I can't speak to it. I've heard of that. But it does great.
People who dip with hydrogen peroxide then, right?
That works too. Yeah.
Okay.
That works great as well. There's a limit with that. And I assume there would be an upper limit with Excel too. But basically sterilizes kind of in our tanks, hair algae, and then provides a very nominal amount of carbon. I've heard it's like 3 to 5 parts per million. I don't know where I got that. I could be pulling that out of my butt, and I'll be honest with that. But it's like we need to be at like 30 parts per million when we're injecting CO2.
Quick question: Isn't just a bubbler like an air stone going to be more effective at getting carbon dioxide into the water than
up till equilibrium, not past equilibrium?
Yeah. So like, no, and you want to make sure you go past, especially in water.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, bubble. If you're low, like let's say, okay, let's use the example of BBA. BBA is probably one of the best examples because it generally presents itself if there's an issue with phosphates or a depletion or lack of carbon in the water. Hardcore planted tank, lots of nutrients, lots of light, no CO2, you're going to run into BBA at some point. With that being said, people will dose it to kill the BBA. So they use it as a way, the glutaraldehyde will kill the BBA and make it feel like, oh, now I'm dosing carbon, so my BBA went away. And back in the day, CChem used to kind of market it and like allow the hobby to think that it's like a replacement for CO2 injection. So it's basically a sterilizer that breaks down into a little bit of carbon that's essentially nominal to some degree for a source of carbon for the tank. It basically just combats not what happens when you don't inject CO2. It's a guard, and kind of once you start it, if you stop it, there's a chance you're going to run into a whole
there's a
boatload
back
of issues. So that's
that it doesn't surprise me that, right? But for such a menial amount of like carbon, we're talking what 2 parts per million, right? It's like, how much is that really going to affect? Because to be fully honest, that's like having 2 like years of really warm weather in the world, right? Having 2 years of extra CO2 in the atmosphere, because every amount of CO2 in natural bodies reflect the amount of CO2 in the atmospheres and that kind of stuff. They're equal to each other.
Yeah.
Right,
and so I'm curious about how bounce backy-ish is it if you decide you're like, hey, I've been using this for a while. And
you're how would you say that? You're readjusting the environment, right? So what if BBA couldn't necessarily stay alive in the environment that you created because you're dosing Excel or a product similar to, and then you remove that, you're now creating an environment in which it can excel, pun intended.
Well, and wouldn't it come back like with a vengeance, because all of a sudden you've depleted it, like the plants are used to more CO2 in the water, and then all of a sudden it's way less.
I don't think it would be like worse. I don't think it would be like you're just essentially you dammed up all this algae and you're keeping it there with Excel, and then as soon as you just stop using it, it's like like it's not going to be worse and get crazy. Like you're preventing a reaction from happening by dosing, and then when you stop, it's going to be there. It's going to start pretty quickly, I would assume. And they call it a bioavailable organic carbon. So it's like they can say yes, it does work, and that's it. But they don't really go into detail about how much, and like for obvious reasons. Like, so all is to say, a lot of these products are either an acid-based algae inhibitor or some sort of sterilizer like glutaraldehyde, and both are just combating the effects of not injecting CO2, basically. That's that. why is it a sham with what I said?
Well,
Essentially.
so I have another question.
Yeah.
In low tech tanks like I have, so like I've specifically selected plants that don't need CO2 injected, and so the equilibrium with the atmospheric CO2, is that just fine then? Do I need to be injecting CO2 if I'm not having algae problem?
No. So we talk about balancing aquariums, right? Especially with plants. The trifecta is lighting, nutrients, and CO2. The limiting factor in a non-CO2 injected tank is carbon, essentially. You could have the coolest, craziest Bluetooth enabled 5,000 par light. You can't put it on a tank that's not CO2 injected. Well, you can. It just has to be so dim. Because what's going to happen is you can increase light, you can increase nutrients, but you're only going to get so much CO2 in the water, right?
Yeah.
So that's why we inject to remove the carbon limitation. So back to what we were saying a little while back, it's all about design. So if you design a tank with plants that are low energy, that don't need a lot of light, you don't have to dose a lot of fertilizer, and you don't need a lot of CO2, then you're fine. You don't need it per se.
Okay, and then there are just a caveat, a little asterisk here. There are plants that actually do take in carbon from bicarbonates. So like hornwort is one of them, I know. So it doesn't get limited on CO2 because it can take in bicarbonates as a carbon
only so
source.
much. Yeah. So that's
I've
why
never heard that. That's interesting.
Yeah.
But
so
it still prefers CO2 over bicarbonates, but
it'll do it.
So in the botany, in the the way of botany, right? When we're talking about those types of aquatic plants, right? We're talking about semi-aquatics that are hard parted, not soft parted, right? And so hornwort is a really good example, because if you have really hard water, you can tell, because hornwort would be the only plant that you basically could see comparably. And it's also really hard too. So hornwort in nature, in hard water, it's very brittle and kind of spiky and pokey. It doesn't look anything like ours that we have in the aquarium hobby, right? So it's a big difference, right? So,
and it's interesting too, on CChem's website, it says, is it a replacement for CO2 injection? It's like, and it right out of the gate says yes and no. However, it says CO2 by itself will give quantitatively more growth than Excel alone. But Excel does provide a substantial amount in comparison. If CO2 is a 10, Flourish Excel is a 6 or 7. What does that even mean? What does that even
I don't
mean?
understand that, because you can put CO2 up to a massive amount of parts per million, right? Like, as long as you have the
kill your
plants
fish,
for it,
right?
Yeah.
But this is why
this still, right? So 10 versus the 7, right? That's saying that whoever is injecting basically what, 8 parts per million of CO2 instead of the 5 that Excel brings, right?
Yeah.
So it's such a if you're injecting and you're not doing above what the bare minimum is, you're not really gaining any benefits there.
Yeah. So sorry, Edison. Did you have more follow-up questions?
No, I think I've figured it out.
Okay. So that's what liquid carbon is. That's kind of why it's a sham to some extent. It's not liquid carbon or a replacement for CO2 injection. It's been sold like that for a while, and CChem is getting more precise with their terminology to make sure probably they protect themselves and getting into weird stuff. It is good.
Still needs to work on theirs.
It is good at killing hair algae. I'll say that. BBA, if you want to dip plants in it, it's great. Dip it and pull it back and put it back in the aquarium, and it'll kill off BBA, turns it red. I just don't think they should be calling it anywhere close to a substitution for liquid carbon or a substitution for CO2 injection. Why does it still exist? We kind of went over it. Dipping, most algae don't like it. It's primarily most effective on hair algae. I haven't really tested it with diatoms or GSA or anything like that, so I can't really speak to that. But they have their place. However, as Edison and I were kind of talking about, just design your tank to not need CO2, and that can be easily done. And you can have a gorgeous tank and not have to use algae inhibitors.
There's two methods. You can design your tank to not need CO2, but you can also design it around a CO2 injection, so you can get the high maintenance plants that need the CO2 if that's what you want. You just need to prepare for it.
Yeah,
you can't just throw them in there and then expect them to do good.
And you can design a tank that wants CO2 and then don't run it, and then complain when you get a bunch of algae.
Or complain when you have a bunch of dead plants.
Or both.
I was about to say, you used to sell plants online. I guarantee you've gotten a few.
Yep. Yeah, and I try to help. I'm not like big box stores. So there's a lot of conversations I have with a lot of my customers that, what are you doing with these? Do you know how to do this? Like, I had a customer buy both tropical fertilizers. And if you're familiar with one's the lean method and one's like all in one. So as soon as I saw they bought both, I was like, this person has no clue the difference, So I'm like, hey, how you doing, bud? Why, do you know the difference between the two? And they're like, no, I was going to try both of them out. So then they end up just getting 2 of one so that they can go off with that. But, as a retailer, I think that's our responsibility. And at the end of the day, if they want to buy 2, they can buy 2. I'm not going to tell them not to. Like, it's their money. They can be happy with it and buy whatever they want. But at least I've done my due diligence, right?
Yeah,
that's for sure. Okay. One last one I'll add to this, which isn't liquid carbon, but the Green Water Labs algae inhibitor. Have you guys seen that? It's like all over Facebook and stuff. Let me see here if I can pull it up. Algae control.
See, I'm a fan. From what I understand, most algicides are just worse for your aquarium. Because you're killing something which is going to cause more.
Oh yeah, I see it.
So this stuff's and maybe because I'm on fish tank stuff 24/7, it's all over my Instagram, all over my Facebook ads. And then the corny Instagrammers, I won't name any names, are like Green Water Labs, like getting paid. Yeah. Like that, drinking it, part of their tank.
You say that, but there is nothing going to be stopping me from making the most delightful ad for something called
Green Water Lab. Green Lab. Supposedly, I don't know if I've talked about this. When plants are really happy, they produce alleochemicals, and the alleochemicals essentially fend off algae, right, from sticking. And stressed plants are going to attract algae to some degree. They're going to prey on it. But this one is actually it's made supposedly from alleochemicals. They found a way to bottle them.
Yeah,
which is crazy.
In the ingredients section, it says that it's made out of basically acetic acid, antioxidants, and proprietary plant extract.
And then again, as I said before, most of these are like acid-based algae inhibitors.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah,
vinegar. They say
vinegar.
They say that it had. I don't know where I heard it, that it supposedly had alleochemicals, but I don't know. Back to Edison's comment. Just find someone that can mentor you and have them help you learn to balance lighting, CO2, and nutrients. That's it. It's really that easy. And you don't need this stuff. This is like snake oil stuff, right? You really don't need any of these bottles essentially to have a nice plant to take.
And the thing is about algae, from where I sit, algae, as long as it's not taking over your tank, it's not bad. It's quite good for your tank. It's quite good for balancing an ecosystem. It's natural. It's part of, the fish eat it. They help manage the nutrients. If your plants aren't able to take care of it, as long as it's not taking over your plants, your algae is doing you more good than harm.
It's true.
And like shrimp tanks, algae, green dust algae, the shrimp love. They pick on it. I hate it. I don't want anything to do with algae in my tank.
Well, and so algae is just usually what the problem is an aesthetic problem.
Yeah, it can be, and like you said, it can completely take over a tank. So unless it is, and you're going to get some in all scapes. It's part of it. Now, if it's manageable and you can keep it squelched to some degree, then it is fine. It's it's a natural process, anyways. Okay. I think we beat that one to death.
I'm glad.
Yes. Liquid carbon is not a thing, people. Next one. How do saltwater plants grow? And why do people never have them in their home aquariums? I had salt. You mean like micro or macroalgae?
Yeah, so like macroalgae, kelp, all that kind of stuff.
I love macroalgae
One of
tank.
Hey.
one of the most beautiful tanks I have ever seen
I'm pulling
was
up
like
Tiger
a
Boy.
white sand and a giant kelp plant in the middle. That was it. Like that was the whole tank. And it's frustrating to me that is the most beautiful freaking tank I've ever seen, but I have yet to see a professional aquarium or anybody else say, yeah, I'm going to do that. Right?
Dude.
Like
There's an Instagram guy, and I'm going to pull him up because I need to screen share him.
yeah,
This
I think
is
I know.
him.
Yeah.
This is him.
It probably
I need to
is
see if I can
him.
find him. It's gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. Hold on. But you continue while I search. I don't want to
Okay.
hold up.
So I think that's kind of the stem of why I wanted to bring up this question. But also, a lot of people don't know this, but a lot of the sand, calcium carbonate sand in our oceans, actually comes from primary producers of calcium carbonate. It's not like the calcium just comes out of nowhere or comes out of the sky, right? And so there's a plant called Halamididae. They basically are contributed to building our oceans and all of the sand in them. Obviously, it's almost about half and half, right? So half recycled non-organic material, aka rocks being completely eroded down into the ocean at base level. But also the other half is active corals by themselves or active, like, carbonate ramps that are plants taking in this extra calcium and building these blocks basically inside their leaves. Yeah. So this is exactly who I was talking about.
This dude, tigerboy.h2o. This guy is so inspiring to me. 19 years in the hobby. I chatted with him very little. I can't remember why. I was going to ask him for help because I bought a ton of macroalgae, and I think I just did it at a wrong time when I shouldn't have, because there's a handful of algae in my reef tank. But it's gorgeous. It's like aquascaping for saltwater side of things,
Yeah. And I think it's like, I would prefer personally, after working in an aquarium with 40 tanks, majority of them being saltwater with anemones and all that kind of stuff, I would definitely prefer this tank over any of those.
Yeah. I went through and my SPSs and all that stuff died off. And I was like, you know what? I really just want to try a macroalgae tank.
Yeah.
And it's just gorgeous. It is highly underrated on the reef side of things. I don't know why. I think people are just trying to chase after like the pretty hardcore stuff, but that blows my mind. Tiger Boy, come on our channel and talk.
Please.
I'm gonna message him.
Yeah, we could have him next week or something. maybe we should save next week to be the saltwater special on plant side of things.
I just want to listen to him. It would be like an hour and a half of him talking. I just would be like, get a pillow. I want to listen to him, man.
Maybe you should have him explain how he would design your tank behind you.
That needs to happen.
Yeah.
I literally I went on Etsy and blew like $250 on like 20 different macroalgae. It just was like, we'll see what works, because some stuff dies off and you don't know.
Yeah.
And it all went to poop because I started traveling, and anyways.
We've already been through that.
I know. It breaks my heart. Okay, I'll stop sharing so I'm not distracting. Sorry. So basically, we just essentially have to get Tiger Boy on the channel.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's probably the better way to do this question and give it justice, right?
Okay.
Because I can explain every single day, all day, every day about how primary producers of plants in the ocean make calcium carbonate and make up our oceans, but the fact of the reality is that A, nobody really cares, and B, I personally want to know how to keep plants in saltwater aquariums, right? Because it's just gorgeous.
You know what? That might be the kick in the pants. I need to get that going. Because I was thinking about it today. I'm like, man, what if I just did like hardscape and like a Finding Nemo setup for the kids.
So what you're telling me, and forgive me if I'm wrong, what you're telling me is that as soon as someone else tells you how to do it, you're going to live stream it for everybody to watch you and critique you while you build it.
I don't remember saying that.
That's what I heard. I don't know. Edison, did you hear something similar? I thought
Something
I did.
similar like that. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, see?
No, I'll see if I can get some content around it for sure. It's fun to just share, and it would be fun to have someone, again, finding mentors, finding someone who's killing it, and if they're willing to help you and guide you, you just blow through so many roadblocks like very quickly. The trial and error and all that jazz. And what happened with this one is this whole thing died off. Everything in it died. I tried to do 2 big water. I think I did 2 big water changes, but there was like green algae all over the rocks still and a bunch of other stuff that just wasn't great. And then I like full blown steam shot into macroalgae where you have to have balanced nitrates and phosphates, but the tank was all messed up anyways. So I think I just got too excited, and I think I just need to like restart it, essentially reset it. Anyways, I'll reach out to Tiger Boy. He's been responsive on IG. He actually knows Melody, the Blackwater lady expert, and they've geeked out. So I told her about
what
him.
You're saying is we have more people we need to bring on.
Oh, I would bring Melanie on in heartbeat with Blackwater. She is so sweet. She's beyond sweet. She was amazing to work with, just with the little article and the back and forth stuff. Very smart, very well put together. I can reach out to her too, see if we can get her on.
Woohoo!
She would love to talk Blackwater, man. She could probably talk Blackwater all day. I think she's a nurse by trade, if I remember. So just awesome woman. We need more women in this hobby as well.
I think every hobby does, but yeah. I agree.
Yeah. So I'll reach out to Tiger Boy. I'll make sure that gets done. Any other questions? Why don't people have more macroalgae? Because I don't know. I don't know if that's speculatory kind of stuff.
I think it's just kind of doing the psychology thing where I just talk out of my butt and we'll see what sticks. But I think the problem is that a lot of people are looking for like a coral reef when they think of a saltwater tank.
Yeah.
They're not thinking planted with the little and a lot of people don't like algae in their tanks just because it's not usually aesthetically pleasing depending on how you get your algae. If it's like those brown diatoms, nobody likes those. Well, some people might, but if you think of algae, you want like that green, like nice, healthy algae, but it's one of those things that's like, it's just not as what people think of when they want to get into reef tanks.
Yeah. I think it SPS, the finger corals, anemones, the fun creatures.
All of that's great and all, but like still I feel like it's way more balanced.
We're not poo-pooing on it, Kris. We're just saying that's why people do it.
Trust me, I understand. My first job working with aquariums was testing crinoids. I get you. Yeah. I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying the fact that sometimes it's a little refreshing to see more plants and less anemones.
Yeah. I mean, especially on California coast, a lot of it's like big kelp,
long kelp
beds.
Forests.
Yeah, and it's gorgeous. And you see like shots of sea lions like, cutting through them, and like it's super gorgeous to me. So we'll see if we can get
maybe once we officially get my Bezos license, we can all go out to the California coast and do like a on shoot like research.
Crystal Cove, awesome.
Oh yeah,
Crystal Cove is awesome. I ran around there as a kid and would love to take the girls, but tons of just little tide pools and urchins, and there's one other guy on Instagram I've seen takes clear PVC we can use, a glass container, and fills it with ocean water, and then we'll find things and put it in and create this like little baby ecosystem for an hour. Takes rocks in and puts it in, and then gets little crabs and things, and it's just really cool. There's a lot of biodiversity there. So, and that's like inland for me. I don't know, an hour and a half or so. But if you guys do, come on out, man. We'll go to the type. We'll take the little ones. Let's do it. Anything else with that?
No, I think I think that question's kind of dead and done, and I think once we have the other guy come on, we can kind of go.
Yeah, he's gonna be on here. We're gonna get him on here.
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna find a way. Next question: should cold water fish like goldfish or dianos be put in the same aquarium as warm water tropical fish? Our fish expert, Kris, will talk about this one.
Of course I will. I guess it depends, honestly, right? Everything that I feel like we say, it depends, right? Like,
that depends.
It depends. That depends.
And I think that's the difference between, a beginning aquarist and one that's more experienced, is that why it depends.
Yeah. So I guess when it boils down to it, right, there's really kind of only one thing that's in my mind that's stopping you from putting a cold water fish in a warm water aquarium, and that's oxygen content. That's honestly it. So a lot of people don't know this, but when water is colder, the concentration gradient of oxygen is higher. So cold water equals very high oxygen and gas and rich, basically. Very low solubility for like other liquids, aqueous solutions, solids, those kinds of things.
That's why ice floats.
Sure. Yes, that is exactly why ice floats, actually.
That's what I was going to say. That. Continue.
Anyway, and so it's both a positive and a negative, right? So at the aquarium when I used to work at, we had a trout tank. The trout tank was always 62 degrees because it needed to be 62 degrees because trout require such high oxygen content that they wouldn't be able to survive in 74 degrees, weather or 74 degree water, right? Goldfish probably can. Goldfish probably are, in most cyprinids and most catastomids, so catfish, are probably the most well-adept fish to living through a freaking nuclear apocalypse, right? Yeah. And so when it comes down to it, I don't think it matters that much. You'd probably be doing them a disservice, right, by putting them in warm water, because their metabolism rates are going to skyrocket and they're going to have to breathe a lot more heavy. And, they may not live as long because of those two factors. But in the grand scheme of things, I don't think that matters that much.
Right. Okay. I actually have mountain minnows in with a beta. I have it on the lower end of the beta temperature and the high end of the mountain minnows.
How dare you?
Face of disapproval.
I'm just kidding. You can do whatever you want. I just work here.
Thanks.
It's okay.
Thanks. I needed your permission.
I'm just a fish educator.
But the minnows seem to do just fine in warmer waters than they're used to, technically. But I guess it really depends on the behavior of the fish. If the fish starts gasping at the surface, you probably need to crank the temperature down for it or get it a different tank.
Remo's shaking their head too.
Yeah, no.
He's
disapproved of you.
Well,
disowned.
They seem happy. From what I can tell, they're active. They're swimming around. They're eating. They're doing great.
I love it how I haven't mentioned that I have like platies and Danios in the same tank too. So like I'm just as guilty as you, but I am not going to say that.
But I'm going to judge you.
How you just said that.
I'm going to judge you.
But from it does. I don't know the science behind it. I haven't studied it, and I haven't really tried it out.
Oh,
but it does. That does lower their life expectancy, but I don't know if it's a significant amount. If you do it right.
Well, you're doing it for science.
For science. Right? Let's go with that.
Yeah. That's what I thought. It was for science, Kris. And so are you. So we can warn others on the downfall of putting cold water fish and warm water fish together.
Honestly, the reason why is because I set that tank up for my wife and she liked the beta. She liked the fish. And I was like, I think I can make it work.
Remo in chat. What fish do you have together? I need to know. If we're throwing
Yeah,
shade,
because he
we
said
gotta pull back the chat
shake my
veil.
head twice, and I think we deserve a little bit of payback.
We'll wait.
Just a
We'll wait
little bit.
patiently for your answer.
Jeopardy music.
If you get to us,
Dun, dun.
we'll judge you. Anything else to do with that? I guess. Okay. For someone more or less starting out, does just typing their fish in Google and asking what their water parameters are, is that sufficient? How do they know if it's a cold water fish, warm water fish? I've never thought about the dang thing, to be honest. I just tropical fish, keep them at 74 and off we go.
I guess when it comes down to it, right? When we talk about cold water fish, it's usually on the extremes, right? We talk about trout and sturgeon and that kind of stuff. But
do people keep trout in their aquariums?
There are people who keep trout in aquariums.
They just sit on their couch and fish. Oh, here we go. Things I have together: cardinal tetra, zebra plecos, angels, black neos, a mono shrimp, Kelly loaches, a Rio pleco, and a solo beta tank.
Yeah, so I mean,
a turtle with a backpack on a kiddie pool.
Wait, what?
I said
I need you to
something about a turtle with a backpack in a kiddie pool.
Oh yeah. So I mean, the first two fish listed there, one's a cold water, one's a tropical fish, right? So
shame. Shake my head. Shake my head. See,
oh, he made it so that way now they're in their own tanks. Never mind, we're good. He's saved himself magically. Okay.
I take the shake back. So in reverse, shake my head's been taken back. For the record. But no, again, Mike, this is why I'm asking this question. I'm a plant guy. I've never thought about it, right? I buy tropical fish, throw them all in, keep them at one temperature. So how does someone know if something is warm, cold, like?
Usually, and this is also part of why we decided to do the living thing of the day, right? Is so that way we can just specifically say it, right? But usually most of the sources, at least that I've seen, and Edison can kind of correct me if I'm wrong, but most of the sources that we've been pulling from, they've all basically said something to the extent of this is the environment they live in and this is what normal temperatures they're used to.
Cool.
And so it's fairly useful. Odds are though, people are not going to be able to automatically know exactly, but yeah. Just don't crank your heat up to 86 and expect everything to be okay, right?
Unless you're keeping ram cichlids.
Or want sushi.
Or discus.
Right. Yeah. Make sure you know your fish before you buy your fish. That's the idea.
Don't buy discus. Just make yourself... Don't buy cichlids. Cichlids suck.
Hey, I like angelfish.
Wow. I agree with you, but wow. The community is offended. Anyways, Ramo, thank you for answering us. It's fun to have you on here with us tonight. And we can silently judge you.
Anyway, what I was saying is I think for most cold water species that are commonly kept, like the goldfish, like the minnows, like the zebra danios, I think the more important parameters that you need to worry about is clean water than temperature. If you keep it at in the 70s, the danios are going to be fine. Goldfish are going to be fine. As long as you don't just crank it up and your heater doesn't malfunction and boil a fish anyway.
So that's a whole nother topic.
Right. Yeah, and I guess that's also part of the whole nother topic too, right? If you really wanted to, you could do a cold water tank with no heater, but that's a completely different, that's the reverse, right? And so there are fish that we know that will freeze to death in cold water tanks, but having the opposite is usually unheard of and uncommon, but
right, okay. Especially if you keep it inside where you have climate control.
Yeah.
Because their temperature does affect water temperature.
Do you guys want to ramble on slightly more time-wise about this question or the big thing of the week?
I think I want to cover the big thing of the week.
Okay. Yeah, I think we answered the question.
And I actually saw the date and thought 23 was the time, but we're at 8:18, so we have more than enough time for this one. So, drum roll. We need a sound effects button. Mm-hmm. What are the most common fish sold in pet stores that get way too big for home aquariums and end up in your local lake?
I've got two right off the top of my head.
Maybe not Kyle's lake because high altitude fish never survive, but okay.
This is true. Oh, no, we were talking about last week with like
I don't know. So
fish ending up in streams and things.
the-
You know, like
yeah.
where
the one right off the top of my head is a common pleco. Those
Yeah.
That's
things,
usually the most
Black
common
O's.
that I think
Huge.
too, right?
those things are like impossible to kill.
I had to give one back to my fish store. And shout out to them, Age of Aquariums in Long Beach. All of them there are super rad and super helpful too. But mine was, I had a 30-gallon and it got like 6-8 inches. It was huge. And
And that's not even
they
full
have-
grown. That's only like a third of what it gets to.
Oh yeah. And they have a pond, an indoor pond in the shop. And I brought it in and they're like, yeah, throw it in the pond. And there's like other massive, huge ones in there. Salto squish face. But yeah, those things get huge if they're happy, man.
Yeah, and we even when I was working at the aquarium, we had multiple people come and give up their plecos, and it was hard, mostly because, and I guess this is preluding to the big issues that I'm going to be covering next week about my previous job and about everything that's going to be coming out about that, because I finally have typed up kind of a declaration with PETA, and we've been working together really hard on it, and we're getting around to announcing it. But the fact is that when it comes down to it, a lot of places can't keep those types of fish. They just don't have the space, the time, the energy, the availability. And so what are the options? They die, right? Or in most cases, people don't want them. They try to give them away 1 billion times over. And then, oh man, I don't want to kill this fish. I'm going to go take it to a stream and go put it out in wild. And, it's just, yeah.
So no. What do you got? What's another big fish, Chris?
I got 2 off the top of my head. 2 more.
Sorry, Chris. Get in line.
No, go ahead,
if you want to. Okay. The two most common, you can just walk through a PetSmart, Petco, and you'll see these fish. The comet goldfish. Everybody thinks that they're fine in a fishbowl. They are not. They get about 2 feet, if not. No, is it a foot or is it?
It's
crazy
a
big, but they need more
there
water.
There is a parrot
because
goldfish that was found in France that was 2.5 foot.
But yeah, goldfish get big. They get about 1 foot, and they're big poop machines, and so they need a lot of space. And also Oscar cichlids.
Oscars, yeah, those get really big too.
Massive.
Yeah, little monsters, man.
Yeah, I mean, to put it in perspective, we had an Oscar that was in our predator tank, and we had to move him out because he was taking too much space into the river giant tank. Yeah, he was getting too big, and he was like, and so we put him in the river giant tank, and so now he looked like a guinea pig among like regular pigs.
Yeah,
basically.
That's funny.
My 2 are going to be Chinese algae eaters and clown loaches, both of which are usually sold for fixes for things. So clown loaches for fixes for like snail and over snail populations, and obviously Chinese algae eaters for algae. And it's very disappointing, right?
They're not very good fixes.
And sometimes make it worse because you're adding more bioload in the tank.
Oh yeah, by far. A clown loach is freaking dirty as all heck. So but both of those fish, a clown loach can get up to 2 feet, and no, it's not the size of your tank that's going to stop them. That was the biggest like misconception or misnomer when I first started in the aquarium hobby, was like, no, it'll grow up to its available space. No. Your fish will continue to grow until it hops out of the water.
That's not how genetics work, right?
That's not how genetics work, right? And so clown loaches specifically. And so like in Utah, I believe at the aquarium, they have I didn't know it would get this big exhibit. And it's literally just chock full of basically the 5 fish that we just talked about that were donated to the aquarium from people in Utah. And it's like, it's kind of amazing, right? It's to see this common of a problem, right?
Well, and I think a lot of what could be done is just stop distributing those fish. I don't care how popular they are. They're popular because of misconceptions.
Yeah, but someone who lives in Florida is probably screaming and throwing the table right now.
Well, throw the table, but PetSmart, Petco, stores that don't have very good education systems for the fish anyway shouldn't be selling fish that get that big.
I agree.
Because there's
definitely
no
agree.
way.
I think that's is it just me or Silver Dollar is no longer available in pet stores pretty much because of
Oh,
that.
I
They
haven't
used to
seen
sell
those.
them at Petco and PetSmart, I thought, and like
Yeah, but they still sell you a common Plecos, so it doesn't really matter.
that's true. They still sell common Plecos, but I thought Silver Dollars, because they're deep bodied, right, and so they get super tall. They stopped selling them, but
I think too, just education. I mean, we can't control people, nor do I think we want to control people, because that gets scary when you start opening that door. But more so, just educating people when they're buying it. Hey, just want to let you guys know this thing is going to get 2 feet long over the next few years. Like, is there no or maybe here's another fish that's similar, but it'll stay smaller for your tank.
yeah,
And then,
bristlenose Plecos are pretty common now because of that, right? So,
yeah. So educating people, educating ourselves. Because
I think it would just be like you have to be able to have the resources to educate to sell those fish, right? So like a local fish store generally has better resources to teach people about, hey, this Pleco is going to get massive, where Petco, they're just like, here's a fish.
Yeah, building a relationship with your local fish store. Not only supporting a smaller business, but having that relationship. You can go in. There was a Age of Aquariums, an older gentleman that was in the back and just loved talking about fish. The dude was so knowledgeable about fish, and I could go in there and be like, "All right, here's what I need," and he'd be like, "Oh, this is what you want." And you'd follow him over, and I would just buy stuff blindly from the dude because he was that good. He was that knowledgeable. But having those people in our stores and building those relationships, I think is what'll help that. I think essentially curing ignorance, basically.
Yeah.
Can I?
And I guess.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. The last thing on this subject that I wanted to kind of touch on real quick before we switch gears. If anything, though, and you guys are like, how do we stop people from buying these? I hate to say it, but the fish and game department for almost every single state knows what stores are the problem, and they know they can basically trace back things pretty precisely now. They can't do it to the T, right? They can't put you in putting the fish inside the lake, right? But they know pretty much when the shipments came in of that fish, where it came from first, what locations are closest to the source of the release, and what locations are closest to you. And so just be wary, right? Like, I hate to say it, but this is in the world and process where you could basically end up in prison because you're destroying ecosystems. And so just make sure you're not being stupid. That was my last piece.
Don't be stupid.
Don't be stupid.
Can I?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah,
Awesome.
of course.
I was gonna say,
check right there.
Hey, my tax refund is coming, so yeah, of course.
Since I'm not a big fish guy, I mean, I got my little 2 cents, but you guys can talk circles around me with fish. A plant version of the fish you don't want to put in your tank.
Oh, yeah.
Amazon sword.
Amazon sword. Yeah, I knew you were going to say it.
Yeah. So those smaller tanks, I'd say 5-10 gallons, probably up to even like 20 gallons, unless you design it in a way. Stay away from Amazon swords. Those things will literally take up your entire tank if they're happy. And they're crazy, massive, heavy root feeding plants. But if you have a really big tank, 50, maybe 75 gallon and up, they're gorgeous. They're very.
Yeah, they make a really good centerpiece.
I was gonna say focal point centerpiece plants, but on the plant side of things, because that's where my heart lies, I would say.
I was gonna say another one. Man, I can't remember the name. Thalasseria, right?
Yeah,
it's another one that can, because those are root jumpers. They're not all centralized on one specific root, but they will move to where the nutrients are.
Yeah,
they'll run out, and so they'll reproduce constantly if you're not careful.
Yep.
I know a lot of people that will put them in the back of their tank, and they'll get, you know,
Oh,
they have
yeah.
a tank that's like
rope,
they have a
man.
tank like they have a tank like 2 feet long, and they have a 12-foot plant, right? And it's like, I know, thankfully Petco and PetSmart refuse to sell them, but like I know there are people that sell them for like river systems and that kind of stuff because it looks nice, right? But they will completely take an entire length of a tank if they wanted to.
They're very easy, hardy plants too. But I like it. You can design with it where if you put it close to an outflow of a filter, it'll grow up to the water surface and then grow along it. And so then you get this like effect where it'll be like flowing in the water, and it's gorgeous. It's super gorgeous. But it is a very easy plant to grow, so it takes over very quickly.
Well, and that's the other issue with plants that are easy to grow. You know, they start looking like they're dying. Like, for example, like Java ferns, they look like they're dying, but they're actually giving little plantlets. So people will dump them, flush them, do whatever, and they end up in waterways.
Yeah.
Just throw away your stuff. Don't ever
just throw it out in the back.
Put it in the
like
compost
Edison.
bin, something like that. Just
or you can do what Edison does and just throw it out your back door.
That's what I said. Not a proper burial, nothing.
Well, then it doesn't end up in the sewer system.
Nothing.
It goes back to the ecosystem, and it's like we're good, you know.
You gotta bury it. Put a little toothpick cross on it. Here lies Daniel.
I didn't have it long enough to give it a name.
Daniel. Yeah. Oh. Quick funny story. We bought a fish. My wife named it, drove it all the way home. Super happy about it. An albino catfish, pleco, something. Anyways,
Albino bristle.
maybe I think that was it.
Okay.
Puts it in the tank, goes right to my crawfish I had at the time. Crawfish just goes over, grabs it, like seconds, and the thing was gone. My wife, from now on, my wife has never named one of our fish I've brought home. She just refuses. It's just like, yeah, about that, you know. Same crawfish that got out and was running around my 1-bedroom apartment midday.
Oh yeah, I've had that happen too. That's pretty
Hey,
cool.
I've had a mono shrimp that'll crawl across the floor, and I'll wake up and step on him.
Oh,
So thankfully my wife is not watching right now, but I bought 3 fiddler crabs at one point, and I had my big piece of Mapani driftwood that I had in this tank sticking up vertically out of my tank, and they jumped out, and I did not tell her that I had bought 3. I told her that I bought some. And so the next morning she came out, and my daughter was like, "There's a spider on the floor." Well, no, it's a dead crab. And she's like, "Is that the only one?" Yeah, it is. And I had never seen the other 2 until we moved out. Like when we moved out of the house that we were staying at, I found one underneath the fridge and one underneath our water heater. Dang. And so like I was like, I'm gonna just shove these in the trash real quick.
The nudge with the foot.
Yeah, exactly. It's so like
into the dustpan.
Yeah, into the dustpan.
All right, I think that's all we got for this evening. Unless there's anything else you guys want to cover before we take off.
No, I think we're gonna on Monday we're gonna start posting the shorts. So,
what are those about?
So get ready for our shorts.
What are the shorts about?
So basically, they're the living thing of the day, right? And so what I want to do, it's not like a species profile, right? Because there's dime a dozen of those. It's more of like these are the creations that are on the earth, right? And we want to be able to share them because each and every one of those creations has something cool about it. And so they'll cover things primarily, I'm putting this in asterisks because I don't want to shoot myself in the foot for later. They'll primarily cover things from the aquarium universe. So things like plants, fish, invertebrates, those kinds of things. But as I get more footage available, I may or may not include insects, terrestrial stuff, and like terrestrial, you know, things like that. And basically, it's just a very quick glimpse into these species. It's not supposed to be a replacement for things like species profiles, like I said, but it's It's supposed to be just an ability for you to be able to experience this creation at one given time.
Yeah, 30, 60 seconds, a little snapshot.
Yeah.
So,
but to be more specific, they're going to cover things like where they're from, what they are, what their scientific name is, if we can say it correctly or not, basically, because I was told by my invertebrate zoologist teacher, and me being an invertebrate zoologist, you can fake it till you make it, and usually that works.
Yeah.
But and then they'll also cover reproductive ways, different types of care requirements, those kinds of things, and then what's honestly really cool about them. So
subscribe for those, because it sounds like we're doing 1 to 2 a week, maybe. You guys trying to do more than that?
Probably more. I don't know.
We'll say 1 a week.
The
one a
idea
week.
is 1 a day, but that's ideal. That's not like
ideal would have been 1 a day, but it takes time, obviously.
We got lives, people. Go look at your fish.
We do have someone who's doing voiceovers for us, though, so we might be able to crank them out just a little bit easier and try to, like, stay on.
Oh, we do have? Is it? Do I know who this is?
Yes, of course you do.
Okay. Yeah, it's my wife.
With that being said, subscribe. Keep an eye out for our little shorts and other videos. And now we got lives going up automatically, which is kind of cool on YouTube as well.
And then I'm still trying to figure out the dates, but I'm still thinking end of March, beginning of April for our big excursion to Utah. And Kyle will probably not be there, which is sad. But we're going to use some camera trickery to try to make it seem like he's here. And not just a cardboard cutout, because, I mean, I could do that. And it'd be great. Yeah, I was about to say, just have you do a stance.
Yeah. So subscribe for more. Keep on hanging out with us. Every Friday we go live. So yeah, love to see you guys come back and hang out with us.
Yeah, of course.
Until then, I'm Kyle.
I'm Edison.
I'm Kris.
This is Tanks and Thanks.
This is Tanks and Thanks.